Needham is taking another step toward becoming a community with no train horn noise. Now, while most of the town's railroad crossing are part of the quiet zone effort, one private crossing at the Needham Golf Club remains outside that plan. This week, select board members discussed whether a feasibility study could help reduce train horn noise by eliminating that crossing altogether. Municipal producer Yushang Yuan has the details.
The crossing at the Needham Golf Club is one of 6 at-grade rail crossings in town, but unlike the others, it is considered private and does not qualify for inclusion in the federally regulated quiet zone. Because of that, trains are still required to sound their horns when passing through the area, affecting nearby residents. At the Select Board meeting on Tuesday, Public Works Director Carys Lustig said standard safety upgrades used at public crossings such as gates or warning signals are not an option at this location.
Because all of those gating systems rely on electromagnetic signals, and the golf carts themselves are made of plastic. So they actually would not cue any of the requirements that you would need in order to operate a signalized intersection.
That leaves grade separation the primary alternative, either elevating traffic above the tracks or routing it underneath.
If you go out to that location, you'll see that there used to be a bridge that actually went over the train. That bridge was taken down when the MBTA started running double-decker trains because it didn't fit underneath the bridge, which is when the current at-grade crossing was established. We had talked for a few years in the past with the golf course about adding a culvert underneath the tracks itself in order to convey the traffic that would go across the crossing. The struggle with that is that the golf course maintains equipment that is larger than what would a standard culvert would be. In fact, it's so large you'd basically be installing a bridge at that point underneath an active rail line, which has a significant number of challenges.
The town and the golf club have begun exploring operational alternatives that could reduce reliance on the crossing altogether.
And we talked a little bit about how DPW maintains our field. So we have a lot of the same equipment that the golf course runs. We do not have that equipment in contiguous fields, right? We have to move it from location to location throughout town. And we had a quick chat with their operations manager about could they plate their equipment and run it over the street on Great Plain Avenue instead of using the culvert. Obviously, there's efficiencies that are lost from doing that, but they ended up reaching out to us after that diagnostic review meeting and indicating that that was actually something they're willing to entertain.
Lustig also explained why the town is recommending a feasibility study before moving into formal design.
Right now, at that particular location, we have a lot of unknowns, so we're not ready for design. So a couple of the unknowns, we know the golf course would prefer a 9-foot culvert. We know that the standard is an 8-foot culvert. So what's the cost difference, right, between going for an 8-foot, 9-foot, and what's the value to the golf course? Additionally, they would like the crossing to continue at the same location, which is at the high point, which is exceedingly more challenging to install a culvert when you're doing it, through the high point versus other areas that lend itself better to the topography, but might not fit as well for their play. So there may be some redesign required for their course as part of this project, or there may be some weighing of costs and benefits as far as the different options we have.
The estimated cost for the feasibility study is up to $60,000. However, the Select Board is not ready to take action yet and is awaiting further review by the Quiet Zone Working Group.
They would prefer to re-meet, have a chance to speak with the consultants about the request or get the questions answered so that they can, in fact, make a recommendation to us, and then we would go forward to the FinCom with a request for a reserve fund transfer.
The cost for upgrading safety measures at the town's 5 public rail crossings are estimated at more than $7 million, with funding currently anticipated in fiscal year 2027. For Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.